Trizzy the rapper, he come with the clappers.
What is up, guys, and welcome to another week of our POGG series. I almost just said the whole name. It's not cool. It's not cool. The name is way too long. It's the process of getting good. It's just POGG is what we call it, that, you know? Or we could just say POG. That's another thing. Anyways, bruh. Sorry about not having videos last week, but here we are. And today I'm gonna give y'all something special by saying we're about to break down, or I'm about to tell you guys how to break down why you're losing. Starting with this beginner video. The first thing I want to talk about is how much were you actually testing your opponent. So what I mean by that is for example, I can go into a match and I can play Brian, right? And I can do all these things. I can sidestep, I can just backdash, just like wait for our opponent to kill themselves, or I can hatchet kick and back one and do down forward ones and quarter circle back twos. See where they press. If I do down forward two, they press every single time. Well, that gives you information, you know? Like Brian does down forward two, he press every time, like every single time. And and the thing is, you'll never know whether or not they'll do these things until you start using it. You know, if you use quarter circle back two and they mash every single time, well, now you know. Literally, now you know. So that's something to think about. Testing people with lows as well, like not just with hatchet kick, but also with quarter circle back three. Like, do they know this situation? You know, people usually stuff you with a mid, but the people that don't know, they get counter hit for the people that don't know. So this is something that you have to be thinking about in matches, and you have to be paying attention to. Just go up, down back three, quarter circle forward four. You know, that's some flowchart that you can test people's knowledge. You can actually like start figuring out what they're trying to do. You can also figure out what they're trying to do. Like if they're too impatient, you can start doing safer moves like back 3-1+2. Just keep using this. It's safe, you know. It's completely safe, and it gives you big damage if they press, and it gives you a lot of information if they also press, you know. Just stuff like that. The next thing is who in the match set the pace, and is that a bad or a good thing? So this can be said in both ways, where if you set the pace, for example, right, that also people think that's a good thing, but that doesn't necessarily always mean it's a good thing if you don't know your opponent. If you know your opponent, then usually it always is a good thing for you. But if you don't know your opponent, something can go wrong very quickly, and you'll take a lot of damage for that. So I'm playing Brian, right? Things like me dashing up, doing a jab. I'm already set the pace after this. Just me doing a jab into a jab, just running up and doing this, I've set the pace, because now if they disrespect you, then anything you throw out next could possibly just completely just launch them. Like they have to kind of respect you there. But then at the same time, if you wanted to mix them up, you can just keep going with that. So jab, forward three, hatchet kick. Like that's a flowchart that's based on if you set the pace or not. So I'm setting the pace for Brian so I can do this stuff, you know? Or not 4-4-2, that's not the move that you should be doing. But you need to think about as well, is that really a good thing? So let's say one of your flowcharts, it's jabbing a down forward two. This is a pretty good flowchart for most characters. Jab into a 13 frame mid. The thing about this is that Brian, for example, has a very linear down forward two to his right side. I was just checking if it was also his left, but it's very linear to his right side. I mean, to your right. To your right, you need to step this to your right, and it becomes very linear. So people generally will always try and sidestep Ryan to the side because it's the same way for his jabs. If he jabs 2 times, then it also whiffs. Or if he does 3 plus 4. If he does 3 plus 4, it also whiffs, you know? So generally, this is a common option that people do, and it'll take you by surprise if you're playing as if you know what you're doing, and you've already set the pace, but then you just randomly get launched, you know? A very experienced player will check if you whiff first, and then launch you. And a non-experienced player will just throw out launchers, you know? They'll just throw out some sort of launcher, any launcher at all. Anything, you know? Anything goes when you're up against these online warriors, you know? But generally it's always just a bad idea to try and press your opponent or keep going with a momentum when you don't know your opponent at all. That's sometimes not even a good thing. As well as not to be confused with testing your opponent. Testing your opponent and setting the pace against your opponent, it's completely 2 different things. But then we have the other perspective that I was going to talk about first, which is setting the pace being the good thing in your matches. So if you really be thinking about how your opponent responds to you, and you try to set the pace, you can keep pressing your opponent and you can just know when to delay your timing, when to finish strings, when to do all this, because you generally just know your opponent, you know? So like if I did jab into back 1, right? That could be something, this could be something that could get you killed, you know, for trying that. Because you're doing that, and a character like Kazumi or Nina or a lot of different characters have high counter hit fast launchers, you know, even Law too. So they'll just do this. They'll just do it. They block a jab, then magic 4, boom. Now you're in a full combo, you know? But if you know your opponent and know that they have these options in their arsenal, instead you'll be thinking about doing stuff like this. Jab into jab. You know, that really sets the pace, because then once they get hit by the jab, they're going to respect you, or usually they will. Or you can do stuff like jab into sidestep back 1, because you don't want to get countered by a magic 4. I mean his tracks. So let's go to the other side. Yeah, you don't want to get hit by a magic 4. So instead you do that, or if someone jabs instead, you know. If somebody jabs as a response, this is a very common option. You already sidestepped it. You know, you're still setting the pace. So that's something to think about when you're in matches. And I hope you guys actually learned something from that, because I'm not sure if that was too confusing or not. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, bruh. Catch y'all in 2 days. 2 days.
Glad you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to share and leave a comment. And if you'd like to see more of Trizzy's content, make sure to stay tuned and hit the subscribe button.